Is that a thing? Do we call them the Santa Anas now?
Oh, I got the Santa Anas.
No, I know what you said. I'm saying, is this a thing that you do where you say I got the Santa Anas? I've never heard it called that.
I don't know, but I've been doing it the last 3 days, and everybody looks at me around here and they go, "Oh yeah, it was really bad this weekend." I'm coining it.
Are we?
I think
Stop
people
trying
just
to. Is this a stop trying to make fetch happen thing, or is this like a serious thing that other people do?
If you type the Santa Anas into Google, the first hit is Santa Ana wins.
well, yeah.
Well, because you used the
Because-
phrase about the winds. I'm asking if everyone has called allergies because of the wind the Santa Anas.
I don't know, but it sounds pretty good.
It's giving it the diabetes treatment.
Yeah. Although that would be more like I got the sugars. Or I don't got the sugars, depending on which type of diabetes you have. So we start with Ava and then get to nothing else.
I mean, we see where the discussion takes us. It sounds like you have some filler content if we need it.
Yeah, Batman versus Superman.
Oh.
Maybe we save that for next episode because I want to hear your thoughts.
I'm sad that we won't get to games because we all have games, but like I don't know how we're gonna get past just like my huge capital letter notes here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause here we are in 281 episodes of We Were Gamers. And it's been 14 years since our last episode, you guys. It's just been so long.
I feel like I've been adrift in space.
You know what's funny? I had a different drift joke that I was going to follow that up with.
I actually wrote later down in my notes on this movie, "Time to Drift." referring to
Yes.
the Pacific Rim thing.
Yeah, the Pacific Rim thing made a debut in this. I thought I had to look it up, and I was like, oh, did this or Pacific Rim come out first? And I was like,
Pretty sure it's Pacific Rim, right?
Pacific Rim. Now I've forgotten. Pacific Rim came out later, I believe.
Oh, it did.
Yeah,
Very
'cause
interesting.
Pacific Rim is like mid teens of the 2000s, and I think this is 2000.
What?
What?
No.
No, yeah, it's earlier than this. 3.33 is much earlier. Well, 3.0, I guess.
You're saying 3.0 came out in 2001?
Didn't it originally come out?
No. That's no.
You Cannot Redo
it
came out in
2012.
12. That's right. So, I don't know. By the point that they were making Pacific Rim, it'd be hard for them to have... I don't know. Maybe. Gosh, it was
Pacific Rim is
very...
2013. Pacific
Yeah, I know.
Rim was 2013. So
I know
it
it was,
certainly
yeah.
could have been influenced, right?
It could, maybe. I mean, that's
But,
the
like-
whole point of that movie is drift. So you'd have to have had the idea for, hey, We Were Gamers, podcast weweregamers.com. If you know where these two movies share their idea for drifting from.
Ooh, that's a good point because you're probably right that both of these were deep into production at that year, right?
Yeah, it would have been hard for one of them to be influenced by the other and still have come out when they did.
Like, I could not believe it when he's like, just like when we play the piano, you have to synchronize our minds. I was like, oh my God, it's drifting.
I guess we should say we're talking about
Oh, yeah.
Evangelion 3.33. You can not redo. We watched it on Amazon streaming because there are other versions of this apparently, like with the other ones, and this is the one we had access to. So, and also I went down a little rabbit hole. I will say, hey,
Isn't
did you guys
this
know
the newest?
translation of this has changed multiple times?
So there's two things here.
Really?
One, isn't this the newest version of this?
Yes. So
Okay,
the
yeah, and
Amazon
they've-
Prime streaming version, and in fact, all of the versions got retranslations when they came to Amazon.
Okay. So because of the controversy over our last show that had translation issues, what was It was the Squid Game discussion that we had with the Korean to English. Some people apparently out there don't know this, but that when you're watching a translated film, you should click English, not English CC.
Oh yes, wow. Yes, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
This came up and was I discussed with someone because English, someone translates what you're hearing a different way than what happens when someone tries to dub something and then transcribes a dub. Dubs and subs are not the same and never will be. And CC means you're watching the quote unquote
Closed
subtitles
captioning.
of closed captioning, right? Which is the English dub closed captioned. So let's just throw that out there for, if anybody had never heard that before or didn't know the difference, I assume we all watched in Japanese again.
Yes.
Yeah, it's unbearable in English. I tried
After
again.
the first one, I didn't even turn it on in the second one or this one to even check. I just went immediately to Japanese.
My settings were the same from having watched the last one, so I didn't even have to. I didn't
I
even have
had
to
to-
mess with them.
The best way.
I had to reset them because we sat down to watch something else on Prime and it started off in Japanese.
Ooh. That
And-
is
and
tough.
the wife was like, it's like, oh no, I got this. Don't worry. Anyway,
What have you been doing?
well, I'm just very easy explanation. 3.33. She had seen me watching it. It wasn't like a profound experience.
She wasn't
well-
moved by the heart-moving piano duet.
I was moved by a lot of the music in this.
There's a lot of great music in this, I think.
Okay, what were you talking about?
Okay, 14 years. So do you got okay, do we want to just immediately start with the conspiracy board or do we want to like sort of go through this movie and then move into the conspiracy board stuff? Cuz there's conspiracy board stuff immediately before the movie even opens.
Yeah, I guess we could. I guess we could sort of work our way through it.
Okay. So remember how last time we were talking about do you watch the coming next on thing at the end of the movie?
Yes, I remember us discussing that, and
Did you
I
guys
said
watch that at the end of the last one?
you told us to.
I didn't. I don't think I had realized at the time that it was there, and so on both of your
Oh.
advice, I deliberately didn't go back.
It was
So
it was a ruse.
from the last one. Some of the images shown in the last one don't appear in
It-
this movie.
Was a
Ooh.
ruse.
The implication being they happened during those 14 years that aren't shown.
It was a
Huh,
ruse.
So maybe I do need to go back and watch it now.
Yes,
Because
and
they show like Ava Unit 6 descending into Central Dogma, which we don't see, yet Ava Unit 6, like at the climax of the film, is, I guess, Omega spoilers for everything in this movie, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. We're straight up front. You should
Yeah.
put that out. I wonder, do you think JJ? So I watched that on your recommendation, right? And then on both of our recommendations, Michael didn't. And I'm very curious to see how that ends up as we discuss this. JJ, do you think it was one
So
shorthand, or do you think two, it was a ruse? It was
Also,
was to throw you
this
off.
particular movie had a particularly troubled development over the course of many years. So it's also entirely possible that they intended to do that at the end of the last movie, and then before finishing this one, decided to
mean,
cut it for whatever
this
reason.
this
right?
movie is 20 minutes shorter than
Yeah,
the
it's like
others.
90 something, and the other two are closer to 2 hours.
I
Yeah.
would not. It would not be beyond reason that some stuff had to get cut.
Hence why I asked about the conspiracy board stuff, because there's a bunch of like maybe sort of ideas that like the stuff they were showing at the end of that last one is actually stuff that happened in the ensuing 14 years.
Interesting.
So we'll talk a little bit more about that when they bring up sort of like what when Shinji comes back and like we sort of start talking about that, because I also want to ask another question about some of the stuff that happened in between there, but it kind of has a place in the context of the of the show. So let's like actually talk about the plot a little bit. We just open with like a scene like breaking their buddy out of jail or something. I think
Yeah, it's kind of a prison break. You don't know what they're after at first.
right. It just seems like, oh, this is some kind of like nerve prison break mission or whatever. Uh, and you see this like really crazy rocket system that is just like unbelievably over engineered. And then you hear Asuka pop on the radio. So she's not dead. Hey, surprise!
Good
Well,
news,
we knew that from
hasn't
last
lost
time. She was on
well,
the table last time,
yeah,
and they said they
she
were going to
hasn't
be able to.
lost her humanity.
Right. She's well. I guess good point. Yes. Because a lot of people are not alive, right?
Yeah.
Turns
Uh,
out, but you don't know that at that point.
right at this point, we don't know that yet. And then you get to, they're attacking this like floating cross prison in space. Just like, who designed this way? Why would you do this? Um,
So so you don't know it at this point, but I speculate that it was Nerve that put him up there.
Almost certainly, right?
Yeah.
Based on the again, we figure out later what these things protecting it are, but they appear to be automated defense things of nerves, right? Like Ava Unit 13 has them protecting it and all that kind of stuff. And so, there's a pretty cool scene here with Asuka ordering Mari around as her support unit or whatever.
I was
And
instantly entranced by new Asuka and very happy to see Mari again.
yeah,
Yeah.
this was an extremely cool action scene and
The
like really fun.
the first 25 minutes of the movie are great.
Yeah, it is constant. Oh my god, that's cool, and what the hell is going on? And then oh my god, that's cool, and then
Yeah.
what the heck is going on? Like back and forth the entire time. Uh, just a very what's that term of like media art where you start in the middle of something?
In medias res.
Thank you.
Hey,
Yes, that
wow,
one.
Michael, good pull.
That's that Latin education coming back.
Yes, yeah, Spanish not helping me there.
I like that you said those two things together because both of those point to one of the things I was going to note, and we can talk about it later. But I felt all of a sudden that this movie made a shift to like, hey man, by the end of this is going to be an art film, just so you know.
Certainly felt like that's what they were trying to do, right?
I don't know if they ever got there, but it seems like maybe we're
I would
headed
argue
that
they did
way.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a interesting and maybe potentially important note based on what happened in the original series and then kind of where we seem to be going, right?
Yeah. I felt there was also a shift in this movie from trying to get you to root for Shinji to trying to make you feel like what Shinji is feeling.
I didn't like
Right?
feeling
Because
that way.
well, yeah, neither does he, but he spends we'll get to it, but he spends so much of this movie having no clue what is going on and no one will tell him.
And it seemed intentional. Like they want you to be kind of upset and annoyed that you don't know what's going
Oh
on.
yeah.
And the explanations they give you are not reliable. you know, I we we get a lore dump or some level of a lore dump from Kaworu later, and not the most reliable narrator, maybe. I would say. I don't know that I fully trust his motivations there.
Gee, by the end, do you think maybe not?
Yeah, exactly. So,
Mm.
it's a how much of what he says is what actually happened versus, just him trying to say something to make Shinji feel a certain way, right? So we get the cool rescue scene. Ava Unit 1 seems to awaken briefly, to sort of like punch a hole through the prison uh, for a hot moment and then is gone. I guess Ava Unit 1 is suspended in the prison too, right? Is that also part of this?
They have
Yes.
Unit 1 in the
Yeah,
ship.
Well, no, before they bring it back, Ava Unit 1 is trapped in that prison, and Shinji is still a part of the Ava. He hasn't been extracted yet.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
talking about during
or-
that first fight.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. They haven't pulled him out. They haven't collared him yet.
Right. And they rescue him, and then almost as soon as he gets out, they slap this like choker type collar on him. What was the name of it? DSS? Is that the name?
DSS, I think, is what they called it. The DSS choker. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I laughed at this moment because you had to wait a half hour for it, Andy, but you got your hospital bed.
I knew it was coming. I wasn't gonna mention it until one of you guys mentioned it. But the hospital bed aesthetic is strong in this movie, especially later, when he's stuck inside of Tokyo 3.
Oh yeah.
But it's not the
Yeah.
same shot, right? Obviously, this was the
No.
same shot, and it's like it's got to be something to this. I mean, it's been 14 years. And they haven't aged. There's something to the hospital bed shot of the, I'm not I don't need to wax on about it, but thank you for mentioning it because I didn't want to be the first one this time. I feel crazy.
No, they're doing something. I just don't know that it's like.
That's what I was saying
As
earlier. It feels like they
profound.
want to do an art movie, but at the same time, like,
And so Shinji gets escorted to the captain of this, like, what looks like a naval destroyer fleet, essentially. Which I never got. I don't know why I got the impression that they were in the Arctic. Was there a bunch of ice
there
around?
was a
Is that
bunch of
why I thought
ice.
this?
Yes, there
Yes.
was.
Okay.
So you were not mistaken there.
Okay. And we get taken to this like extremely cool looking steampunk bridge of a battleship. And meet the like interesting crew. And the captain shows up, and it's uh, it Misato, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the Colonel.
Uh, being backed up by like a slightly different haired version of Ritsuko. And they declare that, Shinji's like, oh, Misato's here. Like, everything will be great now. And she's like, this choker is your punishment. You are under arrest. Take him away, basically. And declines to tell him anything about what was going on and why he's here and what happened, other than to say, this is your fault. You can never pilot an Ava again.
And if you do, we will basically
Blow up the colony. kill
blow
you,
off your
yeah.
head.
So that's a lot. They mentioned, is this where they mentioned the name of the organization that they work for? Willet?
Yeah, so I think
I think they use it as a V instead of a W.
yeah,
I think it's Ville.
It's German, Ville.
Ville.
Okay.
Which makes sense because isn't that where Asuka was originally transferred in from?
And it's somewhat implied that Mari is from there as well. It seems like there's some sort of European North American alliance against Nerve, maybe.
So in my Googling after, I found out that this is called Operation US, this whole like battle fleet and thing.
It's the very first like words that you can actually understand in the movie. Operation US is go.
So there we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a lot. I paid a lot of attention to the beginning of the movie because I felt like it was going to be a big deal. And I wrote down a bunch of stuff, and one of them was Operation US is go.
Asuka makes a mention of like, oh, Unit 2 improved is ready and this stuff. And we're like, oh, was because you don't get immediately the 14 year that it's been 14 years or whatever, even though stuff is like obviously very different. Characters look different.
Except the
and-
pilots.
right. Except the pilots. And also Unit 2 still doesn't have its arm, right? Because Unit 2's arm came off, I think, at the end of the last one. And so you're like, oh, they just didn't, replace the arm. But it actually sounds like the arm is now reconfigurable or whatever.
Yeah,
That
because
wasn't there.
she replaces it to power up the ship.
right, with like her fusion lance or whatever the heck that thing is. Uh, so I think the like the Shinji's asking like what's going on. Their fleet comes under attack by like did they explain what these giant pillars are like that attack them at all? I don't I don't feel like we got any explanation other than Ritsuko going like they're going to surround us and then they're
So,
immediately surrounded.
so is it here or earlier where they say pattern blue detected?
They're both. They said it
Okay.
earlier, and then they say it again here.
So this is where I first started to be like, how are we like have so many angels running around?
Right.
So I assume they're part of what we later discovered to be Ava's,
Right, the autonomous
the
ones that
autonomous
Nerve has
Avas. Yeah.
created.
I just assume everything is now an autonomous Ava.
I mean, those little dishes flying around seem to be those autonomous Avas too, so I
Yeah.
could fully believe it, right? And they start
Yes.
looking like angels as they start becoming that big grid thing later. And so like this whole thing has been this giant fleet of ships turns out to be cover for building an underwater flying ship. Is that the like I it's underwater?
It's very like Final Fantasy airship-esque.
Yet also it kind of looks like a freaky bone dragon with like weird like bandages and stuff all over it. Very strange looking ship called the Wunder, I guess, with a German W at the front. And there's like a very cool, like, oh no, will we survive scene? And they, transform the bridge into the battle bridge and basically leave Shinji behind.
Yeah, don't do anything.
uh, and we have like a tense fight scene of like, will they or won't they? And then the ship bursts out of the water and flies through the air. And you get your first good look at it, and he said it has this like freaky bone dragon look, and it has a bunch of giant halos. Other things have we've seen recently that have giant halos.
Eh,
Avas,
Yeah,
angels,
but
Kawaru. And take your
the
pick.
awa- the awakened Avas, though, like
Yeah.
the ones right before the impacts happen. Uh, During this fight here, where I guess we are to assume that it's Ray, the one we know. It is breaking into the ship to try to rescue Shinji. Uh, oh wait, did I skip some stuff? I think I skipped some stuff. We need to back up,
Yeah,
right?
there was the scene between Shinji and Asuka, right? When
Right
he's
in the
he's getting
prison.
his exam.
Yeah, yeah. This is
Yeah.
the part where they talk about the near third impact, right? Where they explain to him that it's been 14 years. It, Asuka explains that why they haven't aged because of the curse of the Avas. And then I think is it Misato or Ritsuko who calls it you caused the N3I, the near third impact.
I thought he didn't learn about that until Kaworu told him later.
Okay. Okay. That rearranges some of the stuff I have written down here. We'll talk about it in a minute then.
Because
Uh
I think part of what drives him to go with Ray, other than the fact that he thinks he has saved her and they're lying to him, is that they don't tell him anything about what's going on.
but they do give him back the tape player, right?
Right, which is broken, and they couldn't find any justifiable reason not to give it to him.
It's
Right.
unbroken. It's completely repaired.
Or they said there's nothing on it though,
Yes. But
but
it
it
was
works.
with
Yeah.
her and destroyed, and so it was brought back somehow. But it doesn't work
Right. And
because
Shinji at this
she
point
doesn't
then
have a
is
soul anymore.
and he's convinced that he brought her back and that she's still in the Ava plug. At
Did you
which point
catch
they
what
tell
they
that
call this non-Ava thing? The Mark 9 or whatever. Did you catch what Mari calls it?
I have it written here, the Adams vessel.
There you go.
Yeah.
What is that about?
All right. Opens up the conspiracy board. So some stuff I read about this is, the whole big thing going on is trying to reunite Lilith with Adam, right? That's kind of been the instrumentality thing that Gendo was doing in the original series. You maybe can assume that's what's trying to happen again here. Hard to say based on some of the other crazy stuff that happens later. But the implication here is that it's not a like true Ava with someone's soul in it, right? Because otherwise she would have said, "Oh, that's like Ray's Ava or something." But instead, it's like an Ava without a head and a robot head placed on it, and she is piloting that. So it's not a real Ava because it was decapitated and had this robot thing fitted to it. Like what, why, or any of this,
Yeah,
of course, is
Yeah.
this is
completely
weird.
unanswered.
Yeah. I mean, she even shoots the head off of it again, and it doesn't matter.
Right. Because again, it's not a true Ava, right? Where if you
Right.
had, chopped the head off a real Ava or chopped the head off of other things we can discuss in a minute,
Hmm.
um, that appears to have a different set of effects. So Shinji, out of, anger or misguided belief in Ayanami or whatever, decides to go with the Adams vessel Ray rescuing him, or presumably Ray, and escapes into I don't know whatever. And Misato can't bring herself to hit the button to kill him. Right?
Which I think was the only interesting moment she had in this movie.
Yeah, what a waste.
Right?
Yeah.
She never
They
even took her
set up
goggles off, I don't think, right?
no.
I don't think
I think
they
you
ever.
see her. I think you see her without him near the
Yeah,
end.
you do see
Yeah.
her at one point
At the
without them.
end of the movie, maybe.
Yeah.
It's interesting that the collar can go out of range. So then it's like, okay, well, that's not really a big threat then if you tell him never to pilot an Ava, but like the collar can go out of range.
Yeah. Also, like it's keyed to her personal codes and all this stuff. So like there was only it was only ever going to be to be her to activate it, right? And then she couldn't. So if she didn't think she was going to be able to do it, why set it up that way, right?
Yeah.
So Shinji escapes to Nerve, and you sort of feel like, okay, we're going to find out what's going on. Uh, Ray is revealed to be a Ray in a black plug suit with the number 9 on it, not the numbers we've seen on Ray before.
Right. So they've gone through a few rays in the intervening time.
Presumably, right? And you see, they're traveling through some kind of like, oh, this is like ruined Tokyo 3, and this is the elevator that we remember. And these are like hallways that kind of look like Nerve hallways, except kind of rusty. And then you go down the escalator, and it's like, oh, the geofront is like gone. Man, it's just a hole.
Yeah. It's a crater.
And they walk for a very long time in Andrew's art movie sort of uh, venue, right? A lot of like panning shots of
Yeah.
empty landscape and
I think I think it's also this is like really finally setting the tone here for hey, uh things have changed since that TV show you watched. This is the first moment of like look at how much blown up this is. And definitely art shots. But like
and
this is not entirely what I mean by art. What I mean by art is like the way sometimes this movie like doesn't want to explain what's happening. Like I mean, we're not there yet, but like the wall of infinites and stuff like that.
yeah, I got a whole conspiracy board over here about those. So don't worry. But so they eventually, after much walking, arrive at wherever Gendo is, and you're like, okay, Ayanami brought him to Gendo. Now we're back in some Evangelion stuff. Here we go, right?
Yep. Human instrumentality comes up again here,
Mm-hmm.
and you learn Gendo's plan for Shinji and Kaworu. At least the part of it that he's willing to tell them.
Is this where they
Right.
talk to Sayla, or is it later?
I think you get a scene with Gendo and Sayla right after this.
Okay, I'm trying to remember where
Yeah,
that
there's
is.
one. There is
There are
one
more
right around here.
there are more Sayla scenes later, of course, but
Yeah.
I think this is the
We
first
had
one.
a question during 2, and I want to see if you guys found the answer to it here, because I don't think I did, about who was working with who and what each one of their plans were.
Yeah, I don't think we know anymore. Even by the end of this, I think I still don't know what Gendo's plan is. I think I understand Sayle's plan, but I don't think I understand anyone else's plans. So he tells them that I'm going to put you and Kawaru into Ave 13 over here, and you see like a big, like Death Star looking landmine giant thing with a big 13 written on it, not ominous at all. And say, you guys are going to pilot this Unit 13 together, and that will be, you know, that's your job now, Shinji. And then he kind of like sends him off on his way and is like, all right, now go. I don't want to see you anymore. Goodbye.
Yep.
And then,
And
and then,
now we get into the art film portion of the movie.
and I think somewhere in here, Andrew is right. We do get a scene with Gendo and
Yeah.
Fuyutsuki and Sele talking about. Gendo says, everything is coming along. All will be done according to the Pact of the Dead Sea Scrolls and all this
Yeah.
stuff, right?
But it's just same stuff we've heard before, and almost it's
Right.
just in a different package. It's interesting that you mentioned, because Fuyutsuki is almost a bigger character now than Gendo is in this movie, because of all the
He is.
stuff he
Because he
has to
does
do.
anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Just weird.
I Certainly a change from before, right? Where he was just sort of the yes man. Uh, and so Michael is correct. Now we enter the art film portion where we get a lot of scenes of Shinji sad and alone in his bedroom, or like not even a bedroom. I would call it a like one room cell. He attempts to make friends with Ayanami, who he discovers on the edge of like a really creepy, mystical looking machine. Uh,
Yep. And
d-
slowly starts to piece it
Is it?
together. This is not his
I
Ayanami.
mean, isn't that machine just like an expanded version with more tanks of the cloning chamber that used to exist? It looked like to me like a really freaky looking version of all those cloning tanks, which we
Yeah,
assumed
so you
before.
see Ayanami in the main tank later.
Yeah.
the I think Andrew is right that it is some sort of like clone sustainment machine or something, because it's not exactly the same one we see the clones coming out of in the other stuff, but it is definitely like it looks like that and sort of has that same look of all the like weird magical machinery. And yeah, that here Shinji is like trying to make friends with her again and trying to bring her out of her shell. Oh, well, I'll get you these books and you can read and whatever, and that'll be great. And then it's just wall of complete uncaring interest about anything, right?
I like to read. Yeah, you do.
And then she doesn't do any of the reading because she wasn't ordered to. And yeah, just a real bad feeling time here for our boy Shinji. Until he discovers Kawaru and apparently his virtuosic ability to learn to play the piano.
Yeah, so I couldn't really tell here if he has this ability because it's the start of him and Kaworu syncing, or if he used to play the piano and just has not done it in a while and it's being coaxed out of him.
Maybe it's because he's lived multiple lives.
So I actually took this in a art movie thing that this whole scene was meant as a like pastiche showing you time is passing.
Both things are true.
Yes, that is definitely true.
Yeah. This is where I begin to believe that Shinji has lived multiple lives.
I don't know. I still don't know. I certainly could believe it based on everything else that's going on and all the sort of like talk about cycles and those themes keep coming up in here. But gosh, I don't know.
Yeah. Kaworu has implied several times that they have done this before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we haven't even started talking about Kaworu yet and what the heck he's about, and I don't understand how it all fits together. But we have to
So I
finish
think
the movie before that, I think. So
sure.
let's
I
hustle
think
through the end here because it's insane.
so. Shinji says, "I want to know what happened," and Koro goes, "Okay, I'll take you. Let's go. We're gonna go on a trip to the ricketiest and most dangerous bridge ever built." And they do, and then Koro's like, "All right, who's ready for the lore dump? Go!"
Yeah. So then you get a very weird, like, I couldn't figure out exactly what the perspective was between Tokyo 3 and the moon, like, immediately behind it.
So I think the moon is just like really close now. Like it's just
Okay.
there's a very big moon. It's closer or something, and it has all these weird red splotches all over it.
Red crosses.
Yep. The landscape is I mean, at least in this area, right, is specifically very destroyed. There are tons of Avas impaled all over the place here, just like throughout the entire landscape, just littered with them, right? The Quaru explains that oh, what happened at after you saved or whatever happened with Ayanami, you caused what the Lilin, he says, right? The Lilin. This comes again later.
Yep.
Remember for
Yeah,
stuff we're going to
implying
talk about.
implying that Kaworu is not a Lilin, which we already knew
Yes,
from the other show.
yes. Uh, Interesting though when you hear other people say this later. Uh, that the Lilin have called what happened that day the near third impact, right? But we sort of saw the end of that event with Ava Unit 1 impaled on the spear that Kawaru threw from the moon or whatever.
Which spear?
Yep.
Did we figure this out yet? Because I don't get it.
I don't know that we did, but I want to say because the spear of Longinus or Longinus was
Longinus,
Longinus was
I
in
think.
Central Dogma impaling Lilith the whole time.
Yeah,
So that had to be the Cassius spear
which is
that
also now
Kawaru
there,
brought from the moon,
but that's also now down inside Central
which is what
Dogma.
we are told. Yes.
It's actually the other one. It's Cassius that he uses to impale him.
Right, which is what
Yeah.
we were
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but
This
that
is
was
where we
the
get the
end.
shot of all the. Did you already say? Yeah, you already said this is where we get the shot of the weird red
The
landscape,
weird
right?
red Avas all
Yeah.
Yeah,
the weird red landscape everywhere. The like tons of Avas throughout the countryside, sort of
yeah,
impaled all over the place.
yep.
And he sort of explains, this, you were the cause of all this. This is, this near third impact happened, and this is the result.
Yeah. And we get here we finally get I guess redefinition might be a better word of what human instrumentality is.
Yes, this was a big moment. Yeah,
Cuz it's not the same as it was in the TV show.
correct.
It seems not to be.
Right. So in this
Or
version,
okay, never mind. Go ahead.
I was going to say in this version, they basically have to eradicate humanity to pave the way for the next phase of evolution to occur.
The implication being that they kill everyone or they destroy their physical forms so that they can unite to become something else and cause this other life to exist, right? He says to like rebirth the seed of life or something like that, right?
Yeah, fruit of life.
Fruit of life. There you go. Thank you. um
Fruit of the loom.
I think so. We kind of already discussed up top that Kaworu not maybe the most reliable narrator of events here. uh I'm pretty sure based on what we saw at the end of that last movie, everything wasn't completely destroyed like this at that time.
Mm.
No, I think there's been some fighting that has gone on. to cause all these destroyed Avas.
I don't know
I
that
think
we saw
I
outside of Central Dogma after the end of that movie.
he wasn't in Central Dogma, right? He was still
Well, I
on
mean,
top of
we
the
in the Geofront, right? We didn't see outside
right.
the
We didn't see
Geofront.
outside the Geofront.
So this
Right.
could have happened then. I think what this implies, or could imply, is that because it was interrupted, I don't understand why Kawaru would be working with Nerve and interrupt the third impact if that's what they wanted. But this seems to imply that because it was interrupted, that you have all these Avas around.
I think all of that stuff happened because there was an actual third impact. Based on what we see in Central Dogma later, a real third impact occurred. Because at the end of that last movie, Lilith was still impaled on the spear with the mask on and was small.
And another Ava got down there.
Something in the ensuing 14 years, one of the angels got down there. Well, actually, we know one of the angels got down there, right?
Right.
Or we know later.
We find out.
Yeah. So I guess let's get to the end of the
Yeah,
movie here.
we gotta motor through
So-
the end because we still got to put all this conspiracy board up.
Yep. They're wandering around. They get this exposition. Fiatsuki spills the tea on kind of the plans and what's going on here and who Ava Unit 1 is and Rei and Yui and kind of Gendo's relationship to all of them.
Yep. A very important moment right after that happens where Kaworu, to get Shinji kind of to come out of his shell, completely takes the collar off of him and puts it on himself.
Yeah, almost magically has the ability to just move the collar onto himself, right?
Yeah. And he tells Shinji that it was originally meant for him,
Right, yes.
which was interesting, and I'm not sure I ever put that into the full context.
And so they eventually suit up, and it is now time to drift in my notes. So they get together in this dual cockpit of Ava 13, and they descend down into Central Dogma with Rei in the Unit 9 Adams vessel thing, uh, for backup, I guess.
Right. And Kaworu gives Shinji the story that if they go down to Central Dogma and take the two spears, they can use them to undo the damage of the third impact, or the
And
near third impact.
he says undo, put everything back the way it was. He doesn't say you can undo it. I think there's again more evidence for him being a little coy with what he's saying here. He says we can put everything back the way it was.
Sure.
And we get down, as we start going down into Central Dogma, we see just some of the weirdest stuff. Hundreds of red Avas, these things that he refers to as the failures of infinity, all over the place, just crawling around as they sort of descend down into Central Dogma. And then they land, and it's just a river, a huge pile of skulls.
Yeah, that wasn't disconcerting or anything.
No,
That was not there
all
before.
legit. No, it was not. Definitely all on the up and up here. No problems going on. And then they see a giant body of some sort, decapitated, with an Ava on the top of it and two spears through it, right? At which point, then, I believe this is where they are immediately attacked, or does it take another minute here?
Well, so as soon as they activate the Ava, it shows up on Vile's radar.
Right, yes.
So they're on their way,
And I mean,
very shortly after.
It's slightly important to mention that they are being shadowed by Mark 9 and not Rei.
Yes.
Yes.
They also mention at some point here, as the attack force of Asuka and Mari arrive, that Unit 13 does not have an AT field.
Unit
Yes.
13 can't have an AT field.
Wait, why?
Because Kawaru's an angel.
Oh, sure. Yeah. But the angels have AT fields themselves.
Yeah, but if
right?
you remember what happens if you put two AT fields on top of each other?
Hmm. Okay, fair.
It's following its own logic. Yeah.
At least it's doing that.
Yep.
As they start to get closer to their plan of pulling these spears out, Kaworu starts to notice something is wrong here, and then immediately stops being useful for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, pretty
Kind
much.
of, yeah.
So he retreats into himself here and tries to figure out
Why?
who's playing what game, right? The
Who
same
out-
thing we've been trying to figure out.
Who outmaneuvered who here? And he seems to be very upset that the two spears are not the two that he thought they were. There are two of the same spear.
No, one of them, doesn't he say one of them has cloned itself to look like the other one?
He says that they have or it morphed or something like this and like
Yeah.
changed in some way that he didn't seem to think they could undo. It was just like now there are two of this one and not two different ones. And there's another cool fight scene going on here where Ava 13 is protected by these two little flying disc things, while Mari is keeping not Rei occupied, and Shinji is like not it's like barely attempting to fight back against Asuka, and until eventually I forget what stops Asuka. The little robot things? Did they eventually immobilize her?
I got so focused on what the heck Kawaru started saying at the end here about 13th angels and stuff that I've forgotten.
I think she gets hit by not Rei.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's what I.
She gets like sucker punched by not Rei.
Well,
and
so
it
not
knocks
so
her.
not Rei was important to mention because that causes everybody who's trying to fight instead of Kawaru and Shinji while they yell at each other inside of an Eva.
Okay, yes,
Right.
good point. And eventually, they get bought enough time for Shinji to just be like, "All right, I got this. I'm just going to go over and take these spears. Everything will be good. You said it was going to be good, Kawaru. Let's go. Here we go." And meanwhile, Kawaru the entire time has been muttering like, I went from being the first angel. He just literally says I was the first and got demoted to the 13th or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was first, and
Which again, I'm pretty sure we saw earlier and in the other shows saying there were only supposed to be 12 angels.
Uh-huh.
yeah,
And the first
So-
angel's supposed to be Adam, right?
Lilith?
Lilith is
Wait, no,
two.
Adam,
Lilith's two.
you're right.
Adam's one. So how
so-
is Kawaru Adam?
Because I mean he says so, but apparently not anymore based on him saying that he just got demoted.
It's definitely a question.
So I get the feeling that we're not going to see Gendo and the weird hand thing anymore, based on this set of discussion here.
Yeah.
Doubtful.
And the eventual thing, Shinji pulls them out, and Rei, after seeing that happen, decapitates the Unit 6 that was still there but impaled,
Mm-hmm.
and out springs the 11th angel, who
12th?
Mari...
12th angel.
The 12th angel?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. That Asuka and Mari immediately go, "It was still alive?" Implying that they were here before fighting it.
Mm-hmm.
And which again we never saw. And then the angel attacks, and they sort of have to fight it off while Kawaru's necklace starts to be activated. Is this when that happens?
Not just yet. Because there's a scene in here with it cuts away to Gendo. Right, so the Shinji takes the spears. He pulls them both out, despite Kaworu and Asuka begging him not to, because he thinks he's gonna fix this.
Right.
And as he does so, the Ava 13 starts to awaken. It has the second set of arms, and then like sprouts a couple of halos. And the what does he call them? The doors of
The door of Guff.
yes, the door of Guff opens,
I forgot about that one.
which is the start of the fourth impact.
Yep.
Right.
Right, and then
Noticeably being called the fourth impact, again implying that there was a actual third impact that happened off screen. Not a near one, right? A real one.
Right.
yep. So then we get this scene with Gindo and the Sele monoliths where he's shutting them down.
Yeah.
And they don't seem mad.
Nope.
No, because they seem almost like their plan has come to fruition.
But it's so weird because in the last movie it seemed like Gendo and them were trying to play each other, and then now it's like, oh, everybody's happy.
Yep.
I'm like, what?
And so I think that both are still true, right? I think Gendo's whole point was that, all right, here we go, instrumentality. And I think the implication, at least in this series, is those monoliths were their actual like souls or something, keeping those things alive. There were no people on the other end.
I think that is maybe true, but also that maybe Gendo was trying to do it a different way than they wanted. Same goal, but different like tracks.
He had a different timeline in mind for sure.
But like keep using Rei and Shinji for things when Sele would have been just happy if it had just been done,
I think Sele wanted Kaworu and Shinji, and I think you're right that Gendo probably still wants Rei involved somehow.
Yeah. Well, we know why. Obviously, in this movie, they finally admit to the cloning and all that stuff.
And that it's Yui.
Yui,
right?
and this stuff we discussed last
also,
time.
You get at some point the scene of the giant head of the giant Lilith that Gendo is looking at all the time, which is not at all super creepy.
It's pretty creepy.
And they eventually, the Wonder shows up and has a cool scene of like slamming one of the Avas back to avert the angel killing it, and they rally back to beat the angel off. Right, the angel. The whole thing is a core. You have to blow the whole thing up. And so Asuka throws her entire unit 2 at it and blows the whole thing to smithereens, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And we end with Asuka pulling, Shinji ejects, Kaworu's head is blown off. Asuka pulls Shinji out of the plug and is like, why didn't you help me? All right, come on. We're going to walk through the desert with Rei tagging along behind.
Well, we missed the part where Kaworu kills himself.
No, the collar kills him.
He stabs the thing they're in when it's awakening, right?
So he stabs.
He prevents the fourth impact.
Prevents the awakening by stabbing,
the 13th.
which in turn causes him to blow up somehow.
I mean, I think the collar just took its sweet time in, movie fashion of now was the time to tell you that this thing is finally ready.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Let's bring out the crazy theories.
Did everyone die again? I don't know. We missed the didn't wait. No, we didn't miss it.
I think we hit everything.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Kaworu and Shinji is like the point of this movie, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Kaworu and Shinji is the point of this movie.
Yes.
It's implied that Kaworu is the first and 13th angel. 13th angel has to die because there can't be a 13th angel.
It's explicitly said by Kaworu that he's the first angel. And
that means he's an atom. But we know that there are other atoms in theory, or have been.
I mean, I think the implication is that all of the angels, except for Lilith, are some kind of
part of Adam.
Because they've all been trying to get to Lilith at the bottom, right, to unite and cause the whole impact.
But then Kaworu didn't. Anyway,
Or did he? What
uh
was the second impact?
the end of that other show was about Kaworu getting Shinji through human instrumentality, right?
Or Ray, depending on whether you want to consider end of Evangelion, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it possible that we are now reliving multiple timelines at the same time because the impacts keep failing? And that Gendo is trying to ascend people in order to set things right and get everything reset to the beginning.
I feel
Yeah.
like Gendo's motivations are a little bit simpler than that. I feel like he just wants to be reunited with his wife, and this is the crazy way that he is trying to go about it.
I get that. I think at this point I won't put anything past this series because of how crazy it's been in the past. But Michael's interpretation feels closer to right to me anyway. The story thus far is ambiguous enough that you can kind of say whatever you want. I don't see any like definitive proof for really anything here. But certainly they attempt to explain Gendo's motivation here. Fuyutsuki does, right? They say like his whole goal has been to, you know, bring back Yui. So I'm at least inclined to give Fuyutsuki some credit. Maybe he's still hiding some things, but it
Maybe.
seems to want to at least have a simpler story about what's going on than this crazy merging of all human consciousness and souls into some, crazy series of who knows what the heck is going on.
Maybe all the Avas and all these things are like ascended people then?
Totally could
The
be. I think
infinities?
I that is where I was going to go with my next conspiracy topic, and I think the implication is that maybe all of those infinity failures or failures of infinity, whatever he calls them, like could be or are like people transformed into Avas as a result of the last impact, which is why there are so many of them and why there are so many crosses all over the place, all the red seas, because the crosses come from when you destroy an angel, right? That's
Well,
you get that
and
big
how did
cross
they get
explosion.
so many cores to create all these
Right.
non piloted Avas if they don't have souls of people, right? In theory.
Well, do they still need the cores for the unpiloted
Yeah,
ones?
they because remember when they pull that ship out of the water, they like, oh, pull harder further back because then we'll expose the cores.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yep.
So I definitely think that that's a very plausible reading that all these like failure Avas or whatever they are that are impaled all over the place are or were people.
Certainly explains all the skulls.
Right. And so their
Right.
souls are left in Ava form and their skulls are down there at the bottom, right?
And most of those Avas are beheaded, by the way, if you look again. Not the ones up on the surface, but the ones down in Central Dogma.
Yeah. Um I don't know. Go for it with the red tape because I said my things and they're probably very obvious things to people that have finished this.
Gosh, okay. Where else do we want to go? Michael, do you have a particular point you want to talk about?
Um, oh goodness. I don't know if it's a if it's a really a conspiracy theory moment at all, but one of the moments that I kind of related to watching this movie most was one that we didn't actually talk about, where Fuyutsuki reveals all the stuff about his mother being alive and sealed inside Unit 1, and Shinji has a mental breakdown
Mm-hmm.
where he's just wandering through nerve headquarters with reality spinning around him, not literally not knowing what is up anymore. And it felt like the same feeling they were trying to induce in us as the audience of just like what in the world is going on here?
Pretty effective, I felt.
Yeah.
That whole series of scenes left me very disoriented, which is basically how Shinji was feeling.
I know that Shinji and Asuka don't look like they've aged at all. Did Mari look like she aged to you guys?
No, she looked the same to me.
Okay.
Yes, certainly didn't look different enough the way Toji's sister or
Yeah, Toji's
Misato
sister grew up.
Ritsuko.
Yeah. Um, because I was
I
trying to
want to.
figure out why they wouldn't age inside the Avas.
Yeah, so we don't really get any more explanation other than Asuka's like the curse of the Avas, and that's
And
really all we
I
know.
was wondering if that was a lie and that they just can't age because they were born from those coffins.
That could be the curse, right?
Hmm.
Don't know, or it could be that Vile doesn't know why, right? And they just sort of are, you know, they just don't have the answers. I'm it is one of the things I'm very curious about to see if they will answer. And while we're talking about Asuka here, I wanted to bring up a line that she says near the end of the movie. She talks about, oh, we need to go find. Was it
Go
something
to
about
where the Lilin are.
go to where the Lilin are? Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the way Kawaru talks about humans.
But she also still hates Shinji the same way she did before. So,
And Kawaru likes him the same way he did before, right?
yeah.
I I think it is interesting that Asuka now has sort of removed herself out of humanity the same way Kawaru has. And
She was merged with an
Rei,
angel, right?
right? Right?
In the last movie. So maybe she still has the memories or something.
Definitely there's, is that angel still trapped inside her somehow, or is there still some kind of like crazy, did that experience sort of cause that curse for her? Who knows?
Yeah. Hmm. I thought it looked like the suits had kind of aged and been damaged and stuff like that. So I thought maybe it was just her that hadn't aged. But
I am told that there is a canon manga that takes place directly before this movie
oh no, why are you telling us
where
now?
not where Mari convinces Asuka to wear the same suit but repaired that she wore
It had
before
tape all over it. It was cool.
Interesting.
to this rescue mission in the hopes that Shinji would recognize her.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, it clearly worked.
cool.
So
There is a wiki for this because I was trying to find the name of the manga you just mentioned.
I believe it's
There,
Evangelion 120 minutes or something.
this one's EvangelionFandom.com.
I
Which
meant the name of the manga.
oh, so there are quote unquote tiers of canonicity.
Oh gosh.
Please don't. Okay, I went down this wiki rabbit hole. I've investigated many different Evangelion wikis. Don't.
I won't. I
For
won't.
your own sanity.
I won't. But I have to read you the content, the table of contents for the tiers of canonicity. 1, anime. 2, statements by Anno. 3, supplement sources. 4, manga. So it's not very high in the tiers of canonicity. The manga.
Also, there is an entire sections of some of these mangas devoted to whether this is the NGE Neon Genesis Evangelion, the show, or the NTE, the New Theater Experience, which are these movies.
Oh. I
So
assume
if you
you're
see that
talking.
abbreviation, know that NTE is the rebuild movies, the ones that we've been watching.
Okay. Well, I don't know. We could talk about it all day and all night. I'm lost. I completely don't understand how Kawaru could be an angel but also have a soul, because he said that he had a soul because they needed 2 souls in order to pull the 2 spears. So he's got to be some sort of hybrid.
Who is to say that angels don't have souls? They just have angel souls instead of
Well,
human
no,
souls.
because they definitely said that Rei couldn't do it.
Right, because she's a clone.
Yeah.
We all know clones don't have souls, Andrew. Or do we?
I can't take that stance. I don't know where I am on my cloning. You know, I got to pull down my eyelids and see if I have any dots. Hold on.
Man, The Sixth Day. What a movie.
Did you ever see that one, Michael?
I don't think I did.
Oh my
This
gosh.
is Arnold classic.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, where do we go from here?
We've got one more movie.
Do we do it up straight next week, or do we take a week off to process this one? Or we just got to finish it, don't we?
Gosh. I don't know. I'm very torn.
Yeah.
It's funny that none of us walked away. I liked this movie, actually. I liked how short it was.
Yeah.
I liked the pacing.
I was confused watching it, but I had fun.
I had fun. I loved the music. I liked that the movie was like, hey, you know, we spent 2 movies trying to undo all that hate you had for Shinji, but here it is again.
Back in full effect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll just finish it then.
I think we need to.
Okay.
Can we do it one last time?
Find out next week on We Were Gamers. And if you have questions about it, you can send those into podcast@wewergamers.com.
No spoilers, but if you find things like we were talking about with the who came up with Drift before these 2 movies, or
I am very interested in like the references and the stuff that they pulled from for this.
yeah.
We're also on the internet all over the place at We Were Gamers on social media. Find us on YouTube. Please subscribe there. That really helps us out. And yeah, it's been a wild ride so far.
Has been a trip.
14 years in the making. I almost feel like I need to rewatch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to, but I almost feel like I need to. In order to prep for what is the canonical finale of all this time we put in. I don't know. Maybe I've just lost myself and too deep in the plug or whatever. My plug depth is too low.
You need to pull back before you go too deep.
I know. I'm gonna go into beast mode.